Good day, my name is Bruce. Welcome to Financial and Industry Aspects. These are the next three modules we're going to be looking at in this session. First, we're going to be looking at, these are the unit standards for this session. We're going to be looking at Unit Standard 7469, which says to use mathematics to investigate and monitor the financial aspects of personal and community life. Then Unit Standard 14341, keep informed about current affairs related to one's own industry. And Unit Standard 119667, which is to identify the composition of a selected new ventures, industry, sector, and its procurement systems. Here is the agenda for the next three modules. Firstly, we're going to be using mathematics to investigate and monitor those financial aspects of personal and community life. The second session, we're going to be looking at keeping informed about the current affairs related to one's own industry. And the third one will be to identify the composition of a selected industry and sector, and of course, its procurement systems. So today we're going to be looking at the first module, which is to look at using mathematics to investigate and monitor the financial aspects of personal and community life. These are the module outcomes, which will be, the first outcome will be to use mathematics to plan and control personal as well as household budgets, as well as income and expenditure. The second outcome will be to use simple and compound interest to make sense of and define a variety of situations. All right, let's kick off with using mathematics to investigate and monitor the financial aspects of personal and community life. Your new venture requires you to be on top of running of your finances accurately. Keep your fingers on the pulses of your income and expenditure obviously is extremely critical, especially within your first year of the business, because you need to learn how to control your income and its expenditures, especially the expenditures. Certain technology and definitions will be associated with different financial institutions or situations when you are starting out with a new venture. First, you're going to be dealing with the budgets, and that is an estimate of income as well as expenditure for a specific set of period. You're also going to be working with interest. This is obviously the fee paid by a borrower or somebody who borrows money in the form of a compensation for the use of their assets. Normally when we take a loan from a bank, we charge interest, and that is obviously something which we need to be very careful of to make sure that we get the right loan with the right interest rates. Then there's the income side. The income side is, of course, the money that's coming through the door, what you're earning, and also receiving interest on. And of course, expenditure. This obviously is the money that you will be spending either on your household or on your business. Now, using math still, within the entire scope of having a new venture, you will have various plans that are going to be a framework to be there to help you run your actual business. One of the plans, of course, is your budget, and also understanding about how it works and what actually controlling it really means. Now, the budgeting side. Now, maths, as you can see, helps us to shop wisely, buy the right insurance, renovate a home within a budget, understand the population growth, or even bet on the horse or with the best chance of winning the actual race. Personal finance will cover a wide variety of money topics, including budgeting, expenses, debt, savings, retirement, as well as insurance, amongst others. The budget itself is a monthly budget, enables you to firstly understand how much you spend how do you actually spend your income. Identify your excesses, so to avoid any areas of overspending. Save more by trimming wasteful expenditure. Basically identify what you need, not what you want. Make provision for any unforeseen expenses, and also avoid any costly debt, as I mentioned to you earlier on, taking loans which have high interest rates which could possibly have been avoided. Also to build on long-term wealth as well. Cutting expenses. After you've created a budget, you then can begin to see where the expenses may need to be reduced in order to meet your goals. Getting out of debt. Financial leverage or using of credit and taking on debt by itself isn't necessarily a bad thing, but there are two kinds of debt. You get good debt, which is, for example, home loans, or of course you get bad debt, which is overspending, for example, on your credit card. Part of the budget is saving for retirement. With fewer companies offering full pension plans and the uncertainty of Social Security, it has become more important for one person to plan for their own retirement. No matter how late in life you start, you do need to start saving sometime. Unfortunately, many people feel that they simply don't have enough money left each month to make that savings. Whether you are just out of college or have 40 years until retirement, or you plan on retiring next year, it is never too late to plan and also to maximize your retirement savings. Insurance. Insurance is important because you have worked hard to actually build that solid financial footing. So for you and your family, it needs to be protected. Accidents and disasters obviously can happen anytime, and you have to be adequately insured, else it could leave you in financial ruin. Imagine having a business where you don't have any insurance and you end up with, for example, a fire. You could lose that business based on the fact that you had no insurance in order to cover the loss of fire. Let's look at describing what is projected income and expenditure, but in a realistic way. If you have a discipline and the know-how to actually develop a personal budget system, then you can actually better manage your personal finances. The first step that you, a person, would follow is, in your personal money management plan, is to write down all your household income, from salaries to interest or whatever other type of income you get, and also that is obviously, as we know, money coming in. The second step is to list all your expenses, like electricity, rent, bonds, car payments, groceries, insurance, school fees, petrol, public transport, anything else, clothing, anything like that, birthdays, all of that. That all needs to be written down. At some point, while tracking and comparing your spending transactions, you may find that funds are not available as planned to be set aside for predicted future spending or goals. Families will grow. Children develop more needs as they grow. And sometimes life brings us crises along the way. For example, funerals, divorces, those type of things. A complete spending management system will help you to actually predict, plan for, and also to achieve the financial needs to actually accommodate those changes in life. If we need to record what the actual income and expenditure is in relation to planned income and expenditure, the first step is to get a small notebook to take with you. In it, write down everything that you at least buy in a month. This way you can actually compare to what you've actually planned to what you actually are now spending. The second step, after your time period is up, say for example a month, analyze your spending patterns. Put all your purchases in categories like groceries, entertainment, etc. And you actually might be quite surprised at how much you actually do waste. The third step is now to separate those categories into two categories, like fixed expenses and variable. The fixed expenses are, for example, like bond, rent, and insurance. The variable expenses are those that you have no power to actually change. For example, groceries, airtime, and clothing. Even the changes on a monthly basis of the petrol is all variable expenses. The fourth step, add up all the expenses in each of the different categories and write the totals down of each. The fifth step is add up all your fixed expenses. Then subtract your fixed expenses from your income, and that result is basically what you're going to have left for your variable expenses. The sixth step is, now you can spend the leftover money into your other categories. Please keep in mind your yearly expenses like your TV licenses. Consider putting 10% maybe into savings as well. Take a look at where you can actually cut down, for example, buying less data or airtime. Enter the amount that you've decided to spend in each category on your budget worksheet. The seventh step, keep track of what you spend on each category on a monthly basis. You should be monitoring your spending by tracking and assigning purchases on a daily basis. Step 8, readjust your budget if you need to. Only you know where your spending priorities actually are. Please complete class activity 1. You would have received a learner guide and a workbook as well as your summative assessment from your facilitator. The class activities that you're going to be doing will be completed in the workbook. 1.2, moving on. Use simple and compound interest to make sense of and define a variety of situations. As you know, when we take loans, there are different types of interest that banks will in fact charge. The first one we're going to look at is compound interest. This is the addition of interest to the principal sum of a loan or deposit. Interest basically charged on interest. It is a result of reinvesting interest rather than paying it out. Now, the simple interest is calculated as a percent of the original loan. For example, a 3-year loan of 1,000 Rand at 10% costs 3 lots of 10%. So the interest is 3 times 1,000 Rand times 10%, and the interest will equal 300 Rand. Savings means putting money aside, but on a regular basis or in lump sums, when we are able to do so. Savings is therefore a collection or accumulation of capital. The interest rate which we earn on our savings account will probably be lower than the inflation rate, which results in our money actually losing its value slowly. But on the other hand, investment is the long-term application of our collected or accumulated money, provided it is actually invested wisely. That grows faster than the actual inflation rate. It is only through this means that we can actually increase the real value of our assets. Different types of investment products are available. For example, bank accounts. Now, bank accounts are different types. As you can see, we have savings account, call deposit, notice deposit, as well as fixed deposit accounts. Unit trusts. Many insurance and insurance houses as well as banks offer different types of unit trusts, which, as you know, is basically where an investor will, along with other investors, collectively invest their money into a unit trust, which is managed by a fund manager. And there are different types of unit trusts that a person can invest in. For example, the money market unit trust, bond unit trusts, as well as equity unit trusts. And the last one, the last investment is endowment policy. And these endowment policies you can usually take out with an insurance company, and they are usually a savings product, which is used for you to actually save towards a specific goal, and it normally has a specific term that you're going to be saving towards. At the end of that term, that policy would pay out, and that money would be yours tax-free. Now, the main characteristics to consider with investment are the following. Firstly, what is your return? Basically, return is what is the profit that you're going to make on your actual investment. If you're a high risk, if you're a high risk investor, you might want to go for a high risk investment. If you're low risk, you might want to go for a low risk investment. But of course, if you're going to go for a low risk investment, the returns could be a bit lower than a high risk investment. Now, talk about risk. That is the risk associated with the actual investment is an indication of the likelihood that the investor could lose part or all of the initial investment they've made. Liquidity. How easy can that money be accessed? As I mentioned to you earlier on, you've got unit trusts, endowments, deposits, fixed deposits from the banks. All you need to also inquire is when you are making these investments, how quickly are you able to access those monies? Sometimes there are limited amounts of withdrawals that can be made from such investments, so please make sure that you check what are the liquidity options available when you make these investments. Then lastly, we've got tax implications. That's basically what product has tax efficiency. Tax efficiency is basically how much tax are you going to be charged on the growth of that investment, and when will it be payable? Stokvels. Stokvels are community saving clubs. Most Stokvels work as a rotating savings clubs. Members contribute a specified monthly sum to the club, with each of them actually getting to keep all the contributions when their turn in the rotation arises. Also, some Stokvels work as funeral clubs and only pay out a specified amount on the death of a registered beneficiary. Appreciation and depreciation. Fixed assets can appreciate, basically increase in value. For example, property, or depreciate or lose value, for example, computers as well as vehicles. Each piece of equipment or machinery has a limited lifespan and needs to be replaced after a certain period of time. Depreciation can therefore be described as the process whereby an asset or equipment steadily loses part of its value due to wear and tear. Inflation. Inflation is a rise in the general level of prices as measured against some baseline of purchasing power. Inflation occurs when prices increase artificially, either through higher costs, that could be higher wages, more expensive raw materials, or through higher demand, when more people want a limited supply of goods, usually artificial demand because they're buying on credit. Now, how do we use computational tools and verify solutions? Just as you need tools and equipment to run your new venture, you will need the right ones in order to effectively manage your calculations, such as a reliable calculator. Estimation and approximation. Estimation is an opinion, a judgment, or a guess. We often do not have the real facts, especially futuristic facts, and therefore we would use an estimation, example, how much petrol to actually spend. Approximation is basically a rough calculation, or as they call it, a ballpark figure as to the answer to some calculations. Please complete class activity 2 in your workbook. Thank you.